Joining us now from Virginia Beach, Republican Senator Bill DeSteph. Senator, good to have you.
Good to be here, John. How are you doing today? What a beautiful day.
It really is. Finally, the rain has abated. We're looking forward to good weather tomorrow. There's 3 conventions in the area. Let's start with the 2nd District Convention, your own Denby High School, Newport News, 12 o'clock. Now, the current leadership put it all the way up in Denby, and they set it for noon. So basically, if you're going to that convention, you got to be committed because it's going to take all day, especially if you're in Virginia Beach. Get up there, go through it, multiple ballots, get home, traffic. 3 people running for chairman: incumbent Curtis Colgate, Dennis Free challenger, Gary Byler challenger. What do you think happens?
I think Dennis Free comes away with it. I'll be honest with you. Whenever you do something like this and you take it out of the heart of Virginia Beach, which is close to the 2nd District and convenient for everybody, and you put it in Denby, Newport News, where it's extremely inconvenient, you're going to drive back turnout, and people are going to be upset. So from the incumbent, the one who picked the spot, that's the kind of a black eye for them. And it's just not really a wise thing, in my opinion, to make it inconvenient for people where they're getting upset just going to something.
Well,
so, but I think Dennis Free takes it probably 2-1.
You think he'll win on the first ballot?
I think he'll win on the first ballot.
Because what I've been told, if he doesn't win on the first ballot, then Byler and Colgate will team up on him, and then whoever finishes second will beat him.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he wins it on the first one.
All right, DeSteph saying he's going to win it on the first ballot. Let's get to the congressional race. Randy Forbes going negative on Scott Taylor in some mailers. Obviously, these have an impact. People do negative advertising because it works, even though they don't like it. Taylor's responded to that. Where do you see this race now?
I still think it's going to be a very close race. Not only is it going to be a very close race, I feel that, Scott is working very, very hard on the ground. His ground game is unbelievable. It always has been. But when you go negative, specifically in my district, which is the 8th Senatorial District, and which covers pretty much half of the 2nd District, when you go negative here, though, it doesn't turn out well for folks. Every election I've ever run, they've always gone negative against me, and they've always lost. Mm-hmm. People are just tired of it. They don't want negative. They're tired of it. They want to know what you've done, what you're going to do, and what your platform is. They don't care about beating up on somebody when they did something wrong in the 1st grade. That's just not what we're into. We want to know, what are you going to do? How are you going to get it done? What are you going to do for me? That's it.
That's the bottom line. And so we'll see what plays out. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a very close race. Randy Forbes has a big edge monetarily over Scott Taylor. Money matters to a certain extent, so I think he's got an edge there. But I think Taylor's going to get a big plurality out of Virginia Beach. What percentage of Virginia Beach is the district?
I think it's like 55%, 60% Virginia Beach. And I've had a lot of people call me and ask me what I'm doing and why, and I lay it out to them. But on that one, I think Scott is going to work his butt off, mm-hmm. and you can't beat him on the ground when he works that way.
Right. I think it's going to be very close. He just picked up the endorsement yesterday of Virginia Beach Commonwealth's attorney, Colin Stolley. I think that helps. So he's got the whole Stolley machine behind him. He's got the DeSteph machine behind him. So that's 2 big machines to have in Virginia Beach. And now you can sit there and tell me you don't have a machine, Bill, but there's a DeSteph machine in Virginia Beach, and I wouldn't want to be in its path. I can tell you that. It's pretty big. Now, it's a machine, and you got a lot of backers there, and I wouldn't want to be standing in its way. I'd get rolled over. Now, I do have to give you a great compliment. Our race for national delegate is the 4th District Convention. Myself, my wife Ann, and Robert Ike running as the official national delegation team of the Donald Trump for President campaign. We think we're in pretty good shape. We've worked so hard, and a lot of people said to me, why, you guys put 3 mailers out, you're doing all this stuff, we think you're way ahead. And I said, well, when I got into this thing, I didn't know anything about it. I'm a radio talk show host. So I called up Senator DeSteph And I said, give me some advice. What should I do? And he said, if you think you're up by 20, run like you're behind by 20. And that's exactly, I've taken that advice, and that's what we've done. And I tell everybody that. So I want to thank you for that sage advice.
No problem, John. And you and your bride, I've got to tell you, you guys carry a lot of water here. And the fact that you guys are getting behind Donald Trump, I said early on that whoever the Republican nominee is, I'm getting behind him. And a lot of people feel that way. We have a lot of folks, my daughter and I were talking about this, but there are a lot of folks who originally wanted Bernie Sanders, and now they're like swaying over to Trump. And I think that's really an interesting dynamic, especially amongst the younger crowd.
Very interesting. Let's switch gears for a second. Atlantic Coast Pipeline, and then we'll get to the voter photo ID law. Atlantic Coast Pipeline, you have been a leading advocate of getting this done, bringing it to Southeast Virginia, Southeast and Central Virginia, Senator DeSteph. And just to remind our audience, it's in the final stages now of potential approval. And what DeSteph got done, no one else has ever gotten done in the history of Hampton Roads. And what he did is he got every single General Assembly member in Southeast Virginia to sign one letter all at the same time on the same page saying we need the jobs and the economic impact of the Atlantic Coast Pipeline. Now, if you've ever tried to get everybody in the Hampton Roads delegation to agree on anything, it is an impossible task. It is like herding cats. It's impossible. You can't do it. You've got Louise Lucas, you've got Mamie Locke, you've got Glenn Davis, you've got DeSteph, you've got John Cosgrove. You got a very diverse group of people. How are you able to make that happen?
Here's what happened. I believe it was 2 years ago, we had to go after and curtail our curtailment customers. Those are the ones who, if the gas is so low, you've got to shut them down. Guess who one of our curtailment customers is that we had to shut down their gas or reduce or restrict their gas? The Navy. We should never, ever curtail the Navy's gas supply for anything. And we were just in that point. We were at the point where we were just in overload. So when that happened, a lot of us took note of it and said, this is the first time in the history that we've had to curtail the Navy's use of natural gas. So when the Atlantic Coast Pipeline came through, we stood up and said, it creates jobs, it creates future expansion, and helps with economic development of the future. Of that pipeline that's coming in, they've not even started construction, John, and 90% of the gas 90% of the capacity is already accounted for, already sold, 90% of the capacity. So if you think about that for a minute, one, the Navy, it's a national security thing as far as I'm concerned. Two, expansion of infrastructure, expansion of natural gas in the region. As the governor and Obama and Hillary keep pushing and cutting down coal, natural gas is where you're going from there. And frankly, we have a lot of natural gas. It's reasonably priced. The big thing is, how do you get that much natural gas to the individuals who need it and require it? You need more bandwidth. You need a bigger pipe, more pipeline. And, I got into it with a couple of individuals in the press in Nelson County. And they said, well, what are you going to tell the people in Nelson County? I said, here's what I'll tell them. They're very fortunate that this will go over their property, and they'll be compensated for every inch of property that this goes over. And the town of Nelson will pick up between $1.4 and $1.6 million in new taxes every single year. This is a good thing. And the reporter I was talking to said, well, where are you getting your numbers from? And I said, well, I got it from the Dominion Power, and it was also verified by the Chamber of Commerce. So I think they're pretty good numbers. And I can tell you that Dominion is not going to publicly put out something that says they're paying more taxes than they have to anywhere.
Right.
As a stockholder, from a stockholder standpoint, you're going to want to make sure that your power company and the companies you're investing in are paying the appropriate amount on all taxes and everything they're doing. But if this goes through 1 inch of your property, you're compensated. If it goes through all of your property, you're compensated. And frankly, if you ever ride the trail from Richmond, it's called the Capitol Trail from Richmond to Williamsburg, you'll notice that there's a pipeline going through a lot of that trail. You hardly notice any of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, it's the right thing to do. It helps with future economic development. It's like the electricity and the power lines. We need more electricity. We need more on the grid. We need power coming in. You've got to cover the expansion. Sorry, the only way to do that, more power lines coming in. Verizon, when Verizon came through and did Fios, when Cox Cable came in, you need the bandwidth. You've got to put more cables in. That's what you have to do. You've got to hit the demand, and there's supply and demand. You've got to meet the demand.
Well, that's what you have to do. And, the other great thing about the pipeline that people don't realize is along the pipeline, manufacturers can relocate or locate their companies, and they can tap right into it if they're, within X distance of it. So it's also a creator of brand new jobs for the area. And as our region and, basically all of Virginia, but specifically our region, has to transition to a more traditional economy and away from government spending only economy, I think this is one of the most critical things out there. Look, you got to have energy to get business, to get companies, to keep the Navy happy. You got to get the energy, and I think the Atlantic Coast Pipeline's the answer for that. Senator, a big victory for honesty and integrity in our electoral voting process. To me, this isn't a Republican win or a Democrat loss. What this is a victory for the integrity of our voting process. A judge in Virginia upholding Virginia's photo ID law, which basically says in order to vote, you have to simply prove you are who you are, which seems to be a pretty common sense approach. Were you pleased with the outcome and why?
John, I was extremely pleased, and it's all about the integrity of the voting process. That's why we go to war. That's why we fight wars overseas. We want to make sure that process is always sanctity and taken care of and not compromised. In Virginia, everybody can get an ID card for free. So that right there gets rid of one of the arguments of, you can't get an ID card, it costs money. You can get an ID card for free, a picture ID. You have the opportunity to, vote. I hope everybody gets out and votes. I hope everybody takes advantage of that opportunity. And when folks say, well, my vote doesn't count, look how many races that we've seen that have been within a handful of votes of less than 50, a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think the judge came down on the right side of this. Mm-hmm. I have friends on both sides of the law. They don't want people voting twice in any election. They don't want them voting at one poll, then going over and voting another.
Right.
They want truth, honesty, and integrity in the voting process, and frankly, they'll do about anything they can to keep it. And that's a great segue into what we do. The end of June, beginning of July every year is we put out 10,000 flags throughout our district. Mm-hmm. This year we're going to try to do 12,000. The reason we do stuff like that is to show our American patriotism and to thank those who have served and say, look, we've got the sanctity of a voting process we want to keep. We won't compromise it. We want to keep that integrity of it. And this is a step in the right direction.
This is an effort that you've been behind, Senator, for some time. If people want to get a flag or they want to be part of the effort, what do they do?
Easy. You can go to Cheyenne at DeSteph.com, and you can also call my office at 321-8180. We'll deliver them to your civic league. We'll have probably 100 volunteers, 150 volunteers out. We'll deliver these to civic leagues. We'll get everybody and their friends out to put them in the yards throughout the district. The goal is to get as many flags out in the neighborhoods as possible to show the spirit. And then on there, we have JES Foundation. Stella has said that if you want to dispose of your flag properly, she will handle that. You can drop the flags off at our office or their office, and we'll take care of handling the disposal of the flags properly.
All right, that is it. We are out of time. Senator DeSteph doing this major Flag Day distribution. You want to get involved in that? Senator, it's always good to have you on. Thanks for the time. Good luck at your 2nd District Convention. I know it's going to be raucous. It's going to be raucous.
I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be well run, well organized, just like our Virginia Beach chairmanship was. And, when I got out and supported Tina Mapes for that, I did it because she's an awesome individual. And when you met her at the convention, what were your thoughts?
I was blown away.
Exactly.
Blown away.
I think you'll see the
blown
same
away.
thing.
Yep.
I think you'll see the exact same thing.
All right.
She's going to do a great job. Dennis Free's going to do a great job. It's the right thing to do.
We'll get the results on Monday, and hopefully me, Ann, and Robert Ike will win tomorrow as well. Got to take off. Thank you.